drive this as a great, daily, commuter driver, this thing's really good, all things considered. I mean, I think the build quality is really good. There's no squeaks or rattles. The NVH, how quiet and comfortable the car is, it's really good. Welcome to Drive Culture. I'm Jonathan Rivers, and today we have the 2024 Honda Civic Sport. And I'm going to tell you why this is one of the best compact sedans on the market today. So we'll go over the exterior, interior, powertrain, and of course, take it for a drive. So if this is content you're after or you're new to the channel, please be sure to click that bell to subscribe to come back for more. And with that, let's get after it. All right, guys, here we are with the exterior of the 2024 Honda Civic Sport. And to me, it's a really good looking sedan. And again, given the price point. So let's talk about pricing, right? You got an LX, you got the Sport, you got an EX, and then you got a Touring. So you got different trim levels, and really the pricing band for Civic is pretty tight. It's like basically, going from like 24, almost 25 grand up to like 30 grand. And so, obviously as you walk up the trim walk, you get different features and design cues. This particular car is like $25,550. We'll put that up there in the corner so you can see. And again, it's only about $1,600 more than the entry-level LX. And to me, it's worth it because you get some really good upgrades for styling, both on the exterior and interior. So let's point those out now. So what you'll notice on the Sport trim is things like, they got the gloss black mirror caps. It's a nice little touch. You also got the matte black window trim. So the other trims get this like chrome surround. I really like the matte surround. I think it's a little bit more premium touch, looks a little bit more modern than just adding the chrome on there. And then really the big thing is you get these 18-inch wheels and a gloss black finish. So they look really good. If you've seen our other reviews of even things like the Accord and the CR-V Hybrid, then you'll know that that's Honda's approach here when doing like a sport trim, is they always give you these gloss black wheels in here. And I think on the Civic, they look really good. They're kind of a split 5-spoke design, almost like a Y-spoke design. So I think they look really good, and that really complements this sport trim. So if we look here on the side, you get a whole profile shot of the car. Again, this is the 4-door, right? So obviously there's a 5-door body style. That's what, the Type R is based off of, but the SI is actually based off of this 4-door. And again, let us know your guys' thoughts. Are you going 4-door? Are you going 5-door for the extra utility? I don't know. There's still something really nice about this sedan shape and design to me. And I think Honda did a really good job. The car we have here is also in their Sonic Gray Pearl color. It's kind of that like ceramic gray color that, is pretty popular these days. Again, I think it's a great color. I think with the Sport trim that we have here, again, for 25 grand and some change, this is a pretty sweet little car. Yeah, so that's one of the things you get is this kind of chrome exhaust finisher. That's also a nice little Sport accent. You got the Sport badging, the Honda logo, the Civic logo, all in chrome. Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. Would you have rather seen kind of a gloss black package for the badges? I know that's pretty popular. Sometimes you can even buy that stuff as like dealer installed accessories, but let us know if you guys think that should be a part of the Sport trim. Maybe the other thing I think they could have potentially considered was adding some kind of a gloss black spoiler. Obviously, if you step up and get something sporty like an SI, then you get that kind of little wing lip that fits on the top here of the deck lid. But let us know again down in the comments what you guys think. But overall, like I said, again, for an entry-level car, the price point, the design, the features, I think is on point. So now that we talked about the exterior, let's go ahead and talk about the interior. So we're going to hop inside next. All right, here we are inside the Civic Sport. And again, it's a really nice interior. Obviously it's one of the lower price trims, so you're not going to get all the amenities or features. But again, given the price point, the Civic really, no matter which trim you go with, has a really good design to it. All the Civics have that kind of honeycomb mesh that carries across the dash there. Honda always makes a pretty good steering wheel. On this Sport trim, the steering wheel is actually leather wrapped, has some stitching, has paddle shifters. So that's something you don't get on the base LX trim. So that's a nice addition again to the Sport trim. But yeah, you know, infotainment and, you know, the gauge cluster and stuff on this car, again, given its price point, it's, you know, not going to necessarily blow you away. So, you know, on the LX and the Sport trim here in the center there, you get that 7-inch color touchscreen for Honda. It does have a volume knob and a track knob, which I really appreciate. I mean, obviously you can still control things like that there on the steering wheel, but I like the physical knobs. It does have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, but it is wired, so there's no wireless on this trim. You'll see down below the HVAC area, there's a kind of a pocket, place to put your phone. There's a single USB port, so it's USB-A only, and there's a 12-volt socket right next to that. But again, you know, like I said, given the content and features though, again, I think there's some pretty good content in here, some connectivity. You do get a 7-inch digital instrument cluster and then an analog speedometer. You know, again, I think for this price point, that's right. You have to step all the way up to the top touring trim, which is, like I said, a little over 30 grand to get something like a full digital instrument cluster. But again, I think given the price point, the feature content in here is pretty good. You got physical knobs for the, you know, HVAC controls. They're all high quality. So again, you know, even on the higher trims, and quite frankly, even on something like a Civic Si or even the Type R, right? All the goodness and all the premium feelings you get in those interiors, it really starts with even these entry-level Civic models. That's kind of why we wanted to show you that here on the channel. But you know, down below there, you know, you do have a traditional mechanical shift lever, and then behind that you have your like drive mode switch. There's 3 drive modes. We'll talk about that once we actually go for a drive. There's also an idle stop off if you want to turn that off. And there's even a parking brake. So you got an electronic parking brake with brake hold. So again, pretty good features, all things considered. Also, if you notice down there on the you know, driver's side, we got metal, you know, sport pedals down there, again, given the trim. So again, some pretty good feature content in here. You know, one of the other things is when you step up to sport, you get an 8-speaker audio system where the base car has just 6. And then, like I said, you got to step all the way up to like something like the Touring to get the 12-speaker Bose premium sound system. But this 8-speaker system, again, it's pretty good, all things considered. So with that, let's go ahead and I'll show you, you know, what the seats look like up front, and then we'll also show you what the space is here in the back. All right, here you can see the door panels. It's pretty good material. You know, you have some kind of, you know, fabric material here, and you know, your switch gear for your windows and adjustments. But you know, majority of stuff is manually operated here. There's the trunk release button. But yeah, here are the seats, and you can see they're a pretty premium design. I mean, despite being fabric and, you know, and the material, it's pretty high quality. There's even like the little design they got going there at the backrest, carries down to the bottom of the seat. And you'll see on the outboard, you know, bolstering, they actually use like a leatherette material. So it's kind of like a combo seat. But I think they look, and really they're feel really good. They're very comfortable seats. And again, given the price point, it's kind of what you would expect. Now, also given the price point, you'll see that they're manual seats, right? So there's no power for the driver or the passenger. You're gonna have to do manual adjustment. On this side, you'll see you actually get 2 levers. One's to kind of like raise the seat up and down, and then the other one is to actually recline the seat back. But again, these are pretty good seats up front, so let's go ahead and look at the back. So same thing in the back, pretty sparse, but you know, again, you know, you have good materials here on the door panels. And as we look at the back, so I have a child seat in back so you guys can see how much interior space is there. Also, that's kind of like where my driver position is, so you can kind of see how much space is back here as well. But again, there's really nothing back here. There's no HVAC vents, there's no connectivity or controls. There's not even an armrest in the center seat there. But you do have a headrest, and it is a 5-passenger vehicle. So anyway, hopefully this gives you a quick idea of what the seating is like and how much space you have. So let's go ahead and check out the cargo. All right, and real quick, let's go ahead and look at the cargo capacity here. It's 14.8 cubic feet. So I mean, it's actually really spacious. You know, let us know down in the comments below Is this enough space for you? Are you gonna have to step up to like a small CUV? Again, we can look at something like an HRV on this channel or other small, compact CUVs. So let us know. But again, I think you can fit, some pretty good luggage and things back here. So let's go ahead next and take a look at the powertrain. All right, guys, here we are with the powertrain of the Civic Sport. It's Honda's 4-cylinder, 2-liter naturally aspirated engine here. Makes 158 horsepower and 138 pound-feet of torque, made it exclusively to a CVT transmission. Now you have to step up to the top trims like EX and Touring to get the 1.5 liter turbocharged engine. So this is considered the entry powertrain for the Civic lineup. And so, I mean, again, given that it's, the entry price point, will drive it like as such. But, again, I think even given the power here, it's still a fun car to drive. So there's no better way to actually talk about that and figure it out than get behind the wheel. So let's go ahead and do that and take it for a drive. All right, guys, here we are inside the 2024 Honda Civic Sport. And, what's nice is even on this trim, you actually get a pretty decent key fob with some functionality. So let's talk about that real quick. So you get Honda's kind of newer key fob design. There's a lock, an unlock. This trim even has the remote engine start feature. And if you're not familiar with what that is, it's a really nice feature to have, especially when you want to warm up the car or cool down the car given the outside temperature. But pretty much you just push the lock button first to activate it, and then you push and hold the remote engine start button, which is this kind of little like half circle, and yeah, it'll turn the car on. So even on this kind of almost entry-level trim for Civic, that's a pretty nice feature to have. You also have a trunk button and an alarm button that you have to hold to turn on the alarm. So with that, we'll go ahead and turn on the vehicle. It is nice because, again, it's push-button start. So again, you get some pretty good features, all things considered, that, as I told you before, this car is roughly, just under 26 grand, 25,550. So there's the exact number for you. So with that, we're gonna go ahead and take it for a drive. As we just talked about in the powertrain, again, this car is, it's entry-level performance, and you're going to experience that. But I think, again, if you can drive this car correctly, and some of that is kind of utilizing the CVT, it's actually, more than enough. It really is. And it gets pretty good fuel economy as well. We'll throw those numbers down below. But yeah, you can expect kind of like low 30 mpg. So pretty consistently. And then I think if you try to hyper mile it, of course, you can do even better than that. But right now, so I'm in, just got a mechanical shifter here, so I pulled it back into drive. There are some drive modes, so there's 3. So I just switched into what's called econ mode. So again, that's where they're trying to maximize fuel efficiency. You'll notice it kind of like throttles back the response. Steering is pretty light, so I don't think that's actually part of the actual driver mode change, but we'll test it out as we go through the different modes. But it's light but direct, and that's one thing I just want to talk about this car, because despite it being just a trim above the LX trim, this really, like, if you drive this car, then you'll actually get to understand why the Civic Type R or even like an SI are as good as they are, because fundamentally, like, the Civic is really good. Like, it's got a great chassis, great suspension tuning, great steering tuning. So all these things at its foundation are already really good, which is why I think those performance variants are as good as they are, right? So so we're in econ, push it up into normal, so that's kind of like the default setting, and then, yeah, immediately you feel just a little bit more response from the throttle by doing it. Steering didn't really seem to get much heavier, if at all. So lastly, we'll go ahead and we'll switch it up. There's actually a sport mode. Again, it didn't really change anything to steering, so it looks like this is all changing pretty much your throttle characteristics and just probably traction and things like that. So but on sport, pretty much right away, yeah, you notice not only an improvement in throttle response, but you'll actually see like the RPMs kind of instantly shoot up, right, to let you know you're in sport. So there are paddle shifters here, and that's on this sport trim as well. again, you have to keep in mind that it's a CVT, right? So it's not actually a, 6, 7, 8-speed transmission. However, Honda did build in essentially 7 step functions, right, to act as gears. So, which is kind of cool when you think about it. So like if you, like I'm driving right now and I'm in sport, if I pull the left paddle shifter, all of a sudden in front of me, now it says D for drive, but there's a small M for manual mode, and it shows me that I'm in 3rd gear, right? Like it doesn't exist, but anyway, it's trying to give you an idea where you are in the power band and in the rev range. So all of a sudden, like you kind of have some control, and it's holding it in this 3rd gear for you, but it's kind of fun to play with the paddle shifters. I just shifted there, it got me into 4. So like I mentioned, there's actually, and I pulled down, and again, it's not an actual like shifting transmission in that regard, and it's definitely not a DCT, but it is kind of fun to be able to just click the paddles and play with them. You can kind of like double click down through the 7 step functions and things like that, and it's instant, right? Because it's not technically switching gears, but again, it does make the car fun to drive. Now, when you're in 7th, I'm here 40 miles an hour. I mean, it's throttling along at like maybe 1,300 RPM. So it's kind of like, really keeping the RPMs down. So what I notice is at some point, it'll eventually adjust back to what it thinks is the appropriate gear shift. So again, I don't think many people are actually going to like be, racing around and using the paddle shifters in their sport trim Civic. But it is a nice feature that they have. The other thing I'll say again, just as far as like ride, let me switch back to normal real quick. Again, if you were to just drive this as a great, daily, commuter driver, this thing is really good, all things considered. I mean, I think the build quality is really good. There's no squeaks or rattles. The NVH, how quiet and comfortable the car is, it's really good. As I mentioned, these seats are good. Again, even though they're not, full leather or anything like that, I think they're still a really good seat. Let us know down in the comments below, would you like to see Honda make like a Civic Sport L trim, right? Now, if you guys have watched our other videos, you'll know that both the Accord and the CR-V that we've already reviewed were Sport L trims, because they gave you that sport design, but they also gave you the kind of premium leather material inside. So let us know your thoughts on that for something like that for a Civic. And you'll also remember that those 2 cars were hybrid trims. And if you haven't heard in the news, Honda is actually going to put the hybrid powertrain into this car as well. And I'm actually really excited for that car because, again, you can go back and check out the other 2 reviews. I thought those, hybrid powertrains in those cars were great, and the Sport L features and technologies in those cars were awesome. So if that's what's going in this car is going to be really good. It's going to be really fun to drive. So again, let us know down in the comments if you want to see that Civic hybrid review in the future. As soon as it comes out, we'll bring it to you. But yeah, again, overall, I think, that, like I said, the Civic Sport, like the rest of the lineup, no matter if you go 4-door or 5-door, right? Again, you just have a great car. It's, it's already won so many awards, even since the 11-gen Civic launch, and there's a good reason to see why, right? Again, I think just for the money and the features, technology, and the styling that you get for this price point, I mean, man, I wish when I was growing up I had entry-level cars were as good as the Civic is today, because I mean, again, for 25 grand, all things considered, this is a really hard car to beat. So again, thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode, and with that, we'll go ahead and wrap things up. All right, guys, that's a wrap. What did you think of the 2024 Honda Civic Sport? Is it enough car for you? Does it have the features and content you're looking for? Or are you gonna go to some of the higher trims, right? For me, like I said in the review here, I think the combination of features and design, and especially given this price tag, is gonna be pretty hard to beat. But let us know your comments down below. Tell us what you're interested in. Tell us if you want to see more trims and more Civic models on this channel. We're happy to bring it to you. And with that, thanks again for watching, and we'll see you at the next episode.